Well, let's go to page 48.
Okay.
Hey, great. You made it. Yeah, and you got your chair. You kept your chair.
Thanks. Yeah, everybody.
Alabama's here. Okay. Yes. Oh, we didn't see you for 3 weeks.
One.
Well, we missed your Purim. The last week.
Two questions.
Yes.
From the beginning of the second chapter,
Just a little louder, sir.
in the start of the second chapter, you start off with referring to God as her or she, and then a few pages later it changes to he.
Where is God referred to as her or she?
Okay,
Line.
page 37.
We're gonna have one.
Page 37.
If you're gonna have it from the second one.
The second psalm, no,
Yeah.
God from her very essence.
Yes, twist my arm.
Then if you go to
Where the second soul grounds from her very essence. That's the neshama. The neshama is a she. The neshama, the soul is always a she. And we discussed that at length with what should we do. And we actually, I got an email from somebody complaining about this. Why are you calling the neshama a soul a she? He says he and she is reserved only for people, not for souls. So what do we call God? It? If you're not going to call God it, why are you calling a soul it?
Did we call he?
What?
Did we say he?
We say he. We don't call God it. So the neshama also. I'm not going to call the neshama. It's not an it. It's a person. So we call it she. It's either he or she. So it's a she because neshama in Hebrew it's a she, right?
it's a feminine word.
She neshama but it's not just a word. It's a neshama is a being. It's a conscious living being. So in Hebrew there's no such thing as it, but in English, when something is a conscious living being, should be a he or a she.
Okay. It's feminine.
Yeah.
I know what you're saying.
No, I understand.
Your neshama is feminine. Your body is masculine.
I'm not sure that they understand, but why?
Why is the neshama a she?
Why is it referring to her, feminine in one aspect, and then
Where else? So it might be a mistake where we put it instead of she.
I thought I marked it. Okay.
When you find it, we need the correction so we can fix it because yes, everywhere we put divine soul, she. Yeah, we tried always not to use it for the soul, but
He didn't say it, he said he is. That's for Hashem.
and he is God, and she is the neshama. That's the relationship.
God injected his innermost life energy into Adam. This is on page 38.
Yeah, page 48?
38.
38? Okay, we'll turn to page 38.
God injected his innermost life into Adam.
Adam, right?
Isn't that
That's God, his innermost, God's innermost life.
it's his soul that he injected?
No, it's his innermost life energy, and he's injecting his innermost life into Adam. That becomes our soul.
But this is masculine.
But if you do find, oh, I know, I found it. It says the lineup from there. This is true not only of Adam, but of the second soul of every Jewish. We say to him, my God, the soul that you have placed within me is pure. You have created it. You have formed it. You have exhaled it into me. I should have
Heart.
her. That should be her.
But that's not what,
But yes, we did make a mistake there, and somebody found it, and that's valuable.
but that's not what he was referring to, no.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to give him credit. What credit's due? He right?
Yeah.
Please.
Right. Very is very smart.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Taking a picture.
But that was not his last question to you.
It's disgusting. Oh, it says it's you put it inside a test.
Okay, making a note.
Because you, yeah.
That's all right.
Master.
He had another question for you on the same
Yeah.
page.
On the same page?
That you were saying,
On page 42, Nefesh, Ruach, and Neshama.
Nefesh, Ruach, Neshama.
I was told, and I listened by Chabad Rebbe that there are 5 levels of soul.
Yeah. There's a chart there at the very beginning. On the very first page, page 34, we have a chart.
Okay.
That's the chart. But the two Ichaya and Yechida are never mentioned in the whole of Tanya. At least not by name. It's only mentions the lower 3. Those are the 3 that come within the person. The other 2 are beyond you. So they're not there. So but keep on finding those things. We did find all of them. Hunt them out, hunt them down. The only problem is, as soon as we correct any of them are mistakes, we end up putting in some other mistake by correcting it. So there's no end to it.
it's good for your back.
Yeah, no end. So look at this chart on page 48,
Go ahead.
because that's a good review of what we did. What we discussed last week, we have a problem. We said that all the souls are divine. So, but we said that there are higher souls and lower souls. What's going on? And that's and you see the souls that are very sensitive to any sort of suggestion of the divine, and will run from anything that's against. And other souls are whatever, they're fine with whatever, and they don't have that sensitivity. Just tell me what I'm supposed to do and what I shouldn't do, and that's it. Okay, we've got to admit all these people. So that was our issue last week. How could there be the gradations of souls if they're all divine? It's one God, right? It should be just the one neshama. That's it. We see like the difference between, say, Avram Avinu, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Moshe Rabbeinu, and compare that to the souls now, or even within a single generation, different souls. And they said the differences are even in the neshama and ruach, and even in nefesh, different level of nefesh in the souls.
But how can it be?
What?
How can it be? That's what comes from the soul.
That right. That's the question. That's the question. So the answer is like pulls the carpet out from under. There's 2 ways you can answer a question, right? The one way you answer a question is a question, and here's the answer. The other way is you pull the carpet out from under the question. No, like that. The kid comes into class, and the teacher says, "Why are you late? You're supposed to be here at 9. You're late, right?" So the kid can say, "Well, I was at the dentist, or my parents dropped me off late, or somebody gave me a hassle, I tripped on my shoelaces." Or the kid can say, "Your clock is wrong. It actually is 9 o'clock," which means the first one is there was a question, now there's an answer. The second is there's no question to begin with. So over here as well, the question is, if the soul is divine, how can you have all these different levels of souls? Oh, there's an assumption here. What's the assumption? Remember I told you the assumption. You put an S on the end of soul. Souls. No, there's only one soul. There's one neshama. This one neshama is distributed over many bodies. And he gives a wonderful example and fleshes the whole thing out of the human body. Body starts off as a single cell. Everything, think of this, it's so mind-boggling. You know, like you look up in the air and you see a plane flying. You can live for 200 years. Every time you look up in the air and you see this big plane flying, that can't be, right? As many times as you see airliners flying in the air, it just still doesn't click. Like, how is that possible? Okay, the same thing when a child is born. It's like there was no person before, now there's a person. Like, what happened? You know, but that started off as a single cell. It's mind-boggling. Okay, so it starts off as a single cell, and what happens? It starts splitting up. And you get these very complex cells. You get stem cells that could become anything. And then you get neurons. And the neurons are very complex cells. A neuron cell has more complexity than there is in the entire city of New York. The only thing is the city of New York can't reproduce itself for 4 hours. And the cell can. And it's three-dimensional, everything. With all the factories and production going on and all the business happening there. These cells start complex cells, and then they start producing less complex cells. You get cells that are muscle cells. They're pretty complex, but not as complex as neurons. You get cells that are fatty cells. You get blood cells are very simple cells. And then you get these keratinocytes that make the keratin for your fingernails. And they're barely alive. Barely alive. They don't even have a nucleus. They lose their nucleus. So, but they all come first will come from this one cell. And even afterwards, they're all interconnected. They go back to those neurons. They all connect to the neurons, all the way back to the neurons within your brain. So they all behave as a single cell. And that's why if they give the cartoon, the mommy gives the little boy a pill, or the doctor says you have to take the pill because, I don't know, his toe got infected or something like that. Kid takes the pill, he's looking down at his toe. Says, how's the pill know to go down to the head? Well, it is a question. There's medicine the doctor gives you, like it could be for the liver, and they know that that's where it's going to go. How is it not going to go there? Well, it's the same way. A person gets a cut, and cells know that they have to go there and line up. But the other cells know that some cells already went there, so we don't have to go. And when they get there, they know who's doing the job right now, who's going to do the next job, who's going to do it. There has to be an order to it in order to do the job properly. So it's two things. Every cell has to know what's going on in the body, every part of the body, and every cell has to know what every other cell is doing. How did they know? Well, it's one being. They're all interconnected, and the central headquarters of this whole thing is happening in the brain, which has a map of everything that's happening. And even then, the brain's not saying to each one. Brain's not telling. Somebody asked a question. I'll answer. Brain's not telling you go here, you go there. They just know where they're supposed to go, and they do it. You ask the cell, why are you going over there? Well, something needs to be fixed. I'm going. Who told you to? That's what we do. We work together. That's what we do. Somebody asked, why are there rebel cells? Well, that's a rebel cell shows you something going wrong with the person. It's an illness, right? Circulation is not good. So the Jewish people are this one whole entire being where everything is connected. All the souls are connected. You feel it. It's like Jew picks up the paper, sees, oh, there was a plane crash. Were there any Jews on? And you feel it. Right? You feel it right away. So the interconnectivity, but the hub of this interconnectivity is those neurons in the brain. So those are the Talmidei Chachamim. So that's what we said, that the Jew has to be connected to the Talmud Chacham. Now, the word Talmud Chacham, again, generally gets translated as a sage, the rabbis, or something like that. And the term literally means a student of the sages, or a student of a sage, Chacham, a wise person. So interestingly, elsewhere, the Alter Rebbe says what it really means is that he's not just a student, he's receiving from Chokhmah, from wisdom. Where does the soul come from? From God's wisdom. He is a soul who receives directly from that. And then other souls get through him, and other souls through him, and seeps down to everybody else. But he's Talmud Chacham. The real Talmud Chacham means he's plugged in directly. First stop, first node where it goes to. That's what makes him real Talmud Chacham. So Talmud Chacham doesn't mean that he knows every page of the Talmud Bavli, can tell you exactly where it is. That doesn't make him Talmud Chacham. He could be you have people idiot savants, people who just have such crazy memories. Doesn't make him Talmud Chacham. He's a Talmud Chacham because he's plugged in directly to Chacham. So you want to be plugged into this person. When you're plugged into this person, you are connected to your source, but not connected to your source through him. You're connected directly to your source. See what I mean? There's a difference. There's a difference. There's somebody who could be connected to you, like, hold on to me and I'll hold on to that. There's another person who connects you. Here's your connection. I'll show you a connection. There was a group of students that their Hillel rabbi brought them to see the Rebbe, and they asked their questions. And one of them asked, it's fascinating, the transcript of the whole thing is fascinating. When they came in, the Rebbe told the rabbi, get them chairs. You should sit down. And the rabbi said to the Rebbe, they're young people. The Rebbe said, I'm also a young person. So anyways, what the question that they had was, one of them says, Rebbe, I know what a rabbi is. I never really heard of this Rebbe thing before. What's the difference between a Rebbe? What does a Rebbe do? So he said that you see that light bulb, it says. In those days they had light bulbs, bulbs, burn things. So he says that light bulb is connected through wires to big generators, dynamos at Niagara Falls. Well, first to Brooklyn generator, and all the way back to Niagara Falls, big dynamos. Enough power there for the whole state of New York. But it comes all the way here, but it goes through there's a switch there on the wall. There's a switch. The switch is off. The light's not working. You have to find the switch and turn it on. Oh, so that student is thinking, so you're going to turn on the switch for me. No. I take your hand and show, here's the switch. You need to turn it on. That's what a Rebbe does.
So can one bond with the sages?
So the thing, the bond is a different type of bond. It's not a bond where you connect to him and he's connected to God, and so that's what the connection is. What he does is he shows you where your connection is. Keeps you connected to your connection.
So if I read the Talmud or the Bible or whatever, and I find what one sage says I like, I'm not so enamored of what another sage says.
Yeah.
Am I bonding with the one and not bonding with the one that I don't?
So you learned and you saw Abaye says like this and Rava says like that. I like Rava. Abaye. Okay. I remember I was learning Gemara with somebody once, and We're sitting and learning, and somebody comes in, oh, sounds good. Can I join in? Can I join in? What's going on? So the guy I'm learning starts explaining to him. Bai says this, and Rava says that. The guy says, I'm with Rava on that one. No, that's not how we learn. That's not how we do this. So what you have to do then is you say, Abai, I'm not getting you. I'm not feeling where you're at. Why are you saying like that? Rava said like this. I got to understand. I'm not getting it. And the Rizal told Rabbi Chaim Vital that when you can't understand a sage, what you have to do is you have to go to a place where he's buried and lie on his grave and cry and sob until you were able to understand what he had to say. There's a story, not a Hasidic Rebbe, Rabbi, the Or HaChaim, not Or HaChaim, sorry, the mayor of Dvinsk, the Or Sameach. He wrote the Or Sameach on the Rambam. So he was the Rav of Dvinsk, and he would learn at home, because if he would learn in the base of Medrash, they'd be constantly coming to him with questions. So yeah, he went home after that, learned there. So one of his students, he's my rabbi. I got to see how he learns, so I can learn how to learn from watching him learn. So what am I going to do? So what did he do? Before the davening was over, he ran out of shul, ran to the house of the rabbi, snuck in through a window and hid in the closet. It's a nice, hall, keyhole. You can watch and listen. Okay, it works. Rabbi didn't open the closet when he came home. He has his bread and scrambled eggs or whatever, and then he sits down to start learning. And he's, of course, learning out loud, because that's the way you learn Gemara. You learn everything out loud. And he's learning out loud, and it says the Mishnah says like this, and the Halakha Gemara says like this, and Rava says like this, and Abai says like this, and Rava says, Abai, how can you say like that? Or Rava says like this. I must be like, let's see what Rashi says. Rashi says like that. I see. But Tosfos is arguing with Rashi. Rashi says like this. Tosfos is saying like this. What Tosfos have a good question on Rashi. Rashi, why do you say? Must be the Rashi says that. So Rashi has a good answer. Why the Tosfos are arguing? Because of this. Okay, back to Abai and Rabin going on, learning everything else. Gavaldik. The Talmud sitting there, the class is in Gan Eden. This is fantastic. I'm learning how to learn. This is how you learn. This is the real learning. It's going on and on. It's getting also. Finally gets to a certain point that there's Rashi says like this, the Tosfos like that. How could Rashi? How could what's wrong with the Tosfos have a good argument? Oh, it must be that Rashi, you think like this. Okay, yeah, but you think like that, but you see that the Ran says like this and like that. It can't be like that. So Rashi, why do you think? At a certain point, he just stuck. He's stuck. Can't go on. He says, if that's not so, then I don't understand the whole Gemara. What this is going on over here? And I have a question, this question, that question on the Tosfos as well. And the whole thing is now, it's all a big mess. I'm not understanding. Next thing you know, he's standing at the wall. And he's davening. And he's pleading, he's crying and tearful words. And he's saying, Kodesh Baruch Hu, God, please give me love for you. Give me love for you. So at this point, the guy in the closet, so I don't know how to, I can't say he came out of his closet. I can't say exposed him. No, I can't say that. Anyways, he was in the room now, okay? And he says, Rebbe, I'm sorry, and I have to learn Torah. I have to hear it, so I was in the closet and everything. But so Rabbi says, "Well, what's the problem?" No, the problem is fantastic, but I don't understand what you're doing right now. So I don't understand. I don't understand the Gemara. I understand that you're davening, but if you're davening to understand the Gemara, shouldn't you be asking for wisdom and understanding? Why is asking for love? So Rav Meir Simcha, that's his name, Rav Meir Simcha, he says, You don't understand the first thing about learning Torah. First thing. What is Abaya and Rava arguing about? What are they arguing? What's Rashi and Tosfos and all the Rishon? What are they all arguing about? They're arguing about what does Hashem want? What is it like best? How do you know what somebody wants? You love them. No, a mother knows what the child wants because the mother loves the child. You know what a person wants because you love that person. If I don't understand what the rabbis are saying, it means I don't understand what Hashem wants. I don't love him enough. So that's how you come to understand what the sages are saying. You have trust in them that this sage knows what he's talking about. And if I'm not understanding, there's some problem with me that I'm not understanding. He has great love for God, so he understands this. I don't have that love, so I'm not understanding it. So I got to try harder. So you connect to this tzaddik, this Talmud Chacham, and he is going to awaken in you that your direct connection. Just like the brain doesn't go telling the cells of the body, you must go here and you do this. The brain connects the cell to its essence, and the cell knows what to do. The cell knows, I'm not just a cell, I'm part of this body, I'm part of this person, and therefore I have to do this. So a tzaddik makes you feel, I'm not Tzvi Freeman. That's my second identity. My first identity is I am a Jew. How do I know that? Because here I see a great tzaddik, and his entire identity is the Jewish people. So that must be me as well. So it wakes up in me who I actually really am. Okay, so here's the chart. The chart goes through comparing the child to the soul on page 48. Right? Comparing the child and the soul. And first of all, in its original identity. The original identity of the child is a signal from the father's brain. That's where we begin. And with the soul, what's that signal from the father's brain? It's God's wisdom. That's where the soul begins. This wisdom is one with him, like this signal from the father's brain. But much more so. Secondly, okay, there's integrity all the way down. Integrity, it remains a single whole all the way down. That doesn't change. You never lose that integrity, that wholeness. So integrity with the child is the gestation during 9 months of pregnancy, generating specifically tasked and simpler cells from that original signal or cell. And the same thing with the soul. The soul descends through a chain of all the spiritual worlds. It goes down and down. And at each level, as it's going down, there's levels of souls. There's souls that come out dropped off in the world of Atzilus, and other souls in the world of Bria, and other souls in the world of Tzira, until you get down to the souls that are Asiya souls, from just down here. Okay, so there's a descending hierarchy of all these souls that all need each other, just like the fetus forming in the womb. That's the same thing happening. So I know neurons are in Atzilus, however it goes, all those different types of cells. And then in the diversity, in the child, there's a complete body with a diversity of cells from brain neurons to toenails, all the while retaining integrity to the origin. No matter how diverse, what kind of cell, but it's still, each cell is still part of this body. And the same thing, the complete body of the Jewish people with diversity of souls, from the heads of the sages down to the simplest of Jews, all preserving the imprint of their origin, divine wisdom. And then you get the integrity in the lifeline. In the child body, all receive their essential life energy from the brain and the head, right? That's what's controlling the electrical fields in the body, that's directing everything to go to the place that it has to go. And that place, as it is in the brain, that contains the original spark of the Father, uncompromised. Those cells in the brain are like, they have that original signal where everything started. And with the souls, that all are connected by a lifeline to the tzaddik and sage, through whom they find their connection to God's wisdom. And you get back to that original integrity. So you look at the tzaddik and say, this is like the ultimate neshama, because all the neshamas are ultimate. Yeah, but this preserves in its most idyllic state, pristine state, how the soul is when it first comes out, first appears.
So when we say Jewish people are one soul, do we literally mean one soul, or do we mean metaphorically? Say again.
It's really one
soul. So of the original souls that were created, 600,000 or something?
Yeah, those are root souls.
Are we one of those root souls?
Yeah, those root souls. So 600,000 have sparks, and the sparks have sparks. So your soul is a spark of a spark, or whatever, from one of those 600,000.
Would the Jewish people one of those 600,000? I mean, you might have.
The 600,000 Jewish souls that all come from
600,000 Jewish.
From the 70 souls that come from one soul. So it starts with 1 to the 12 to 70, 600,000, and then to all the Jews that ever been.
I didn't realize 600,000 Jewish souls. So what about the Goyim? What's their souls?
So all the souls
Still
come from the first Adam Rishon.
Yeah, all from Adam. Yeah.
Yeah. So they all go back to there.
But they have different sparks coming out.
It's different. I don't know if I told you the story with Dr. Rosenblum. Dr. Rosenblum was a mathematician at Columbia University, professor of mathematics. It's well known for, I don't know, whatever. And he was very close with the Rebbe, shared the birthday. So he told me that he asked the Rebbe about, he had read Erwin Schrödinger's book. Yeah, not the cat, but there's a chapter in there about what is life. And Schrödinger comes to the conclusion that there must be a general consciousness, like Carl Jung said. There must be a general consciousness of humanity, because how is it otherwise that we all see the same universe? So how could this be? So he came to the conclusion there's a general consciousness of all of humanity. So he asked the Rebbe, according to Judaism, is this so, that there's a general consciousness? And the first thing the Rebbe said, oh, Erwin Schrödinger, I enjoyed his lectures so much at the University of Berlin. That's the first thing, I really like his lectures. He went on and he said that it's so, but the Medrash says that there's, of this general, there's 70 nations, each with its own consciousness. And the Jewish consciousness is a separate one. It's not one of those 70. So it's part of the general consciousness. But
who said that? The Rebbe.
The Rebbe said. The Rebbe also would quote the Zohar that calls the Jewish people are the heart of the nations. So that you just like Jewish people are a single body, imagine all of humanity being a single body, and the Jewish people being the heart.
So you don't mind me asking these questions, do you?
Go ahead. Get on it. Get out.
Oh,
That's great.
So my.
As long as we're on topic.
It's not well. Soul.
As long as we don't talk how to name a Jewish soul.
So obviously, when we Spark was reconnect, you don't do stuff. What you come back as an animal. Yep.
You don't come back as an animal. A neshama can come back stuck inside an animal,
yes,
but not as an animal.
Sorry. Yeah.
The animal will have its own soul, and there could be a neshama stuck in there.
And in previous incarnations might not have been a Jew, but my soul.
No, the soul was always Jewish. It could have been stuck. It could have been stuck in even a blade of grass or something at some point.
But the soul was always Jewish.
But that's not going to be the soul of that animal or that blade of grass. It'll be this neshama has to be stuck in this place,
okay,
like a fetus in the womb, but not running that system.
And this.
Yeah.
And I guess that's why sometimes you do meet non-Jewish people, and they just have a natural affinity to Jews, even though they've never been there. They have Jewish
conversion.
So conversion, we say the language of the Mishnah is ger sheba lehiskayim, a ger who comes to become a ger. Well, should say a non-Jew who came to become Jewish. Let's say that a ger who came lehiskayim means that he was always a ger. It was. It says this is a Jewish soul that has to go on this journey in order to break out and become who.
So what's a ger? That makes sense, but what's a ger?
A ger means a sojourner, somebody who came to live amongst us. So a ger is an adopted Jew, but only adopted because originally was. So it came from Avraham and Sarah. That's what they call him Ben Avram, Bas Sarah. That's where this soul came from Avraham and Sarah. And some make it and some don't, right? So, yeah. So that's what happens. So, but they're all Jewish souls. It's all literally one soul, like one body that's spread out amongst everybody. And the connecting is forces the sage. Okay, so now the question comes up. Got this organic network. So on page 49, what about those who, somebody said, I think somebody asked over here about the rebel souls. You have rebel souls. You have people who are peshimaidim. They're deliberately rebelling against the Chachamim. So what's with them? If they're rebelling, so they've not connected. The question is, how does this person remain Jewish? So somebody might say, well, he's not Jewish anymore. I'm sorry, it doesn't want to listen to the rabbis. Doesn't want to do anything Jewish. He left. He's not Jewish anymore. No. So the Alter Rebbe doesn't want to do that. Sorry, that doesn't work. But it's not connected. Like it should be a dead cell, right? It's like fingernails that got cut off, right? That's it, gone. He says, no. It can't be. As for those who deliberately rebel against the Torah sages, they necessarily remain bonded to them, as that is integral to their existence as a Jew. They can't disconnect. It's only that the essential life energy of the nefesh, ruach, and neshama enters subliminally through the backside, it's called. Acharayim. They don't even realize that they're getting it. So all the time that they're rebelling against, all that time they continue to be getting life from the person that they're rebelling against. So you have cases, when they came to arrest the previous Rabbi Yitzchak, Rabbi Reatz, and it was in Leningrad. And they came in the middle of the night, 2 Jews, to arrest him, and they wanted to have, the plan was to have him executed that night. So he insisted he's taking his tefillin with him. So one of them says, well, I'll carry your tefillin because my father carried your father's tefillin. I'm going to carry your tefillin. They said, they wouldn't let him. They said, your father carried my father's tefillin to where my father wanted to take him. You're taking my tefillin to where you want to take him. Wouldn't let him go. But this Yid, a Jew, who was out to have the Rebbe executed, wanted the privilege of carrying his tefillin. So there always is that connection. They can't get rid of that connection. I thought with the Rebbe went to a huge extreme because you had Jews who were so distant, like Bobby Fischer. The Rebbe asked somebody to take care of him. Bobby Fischer was a Jewish anti-Semite to the extreme. But the Rebbe wanted, try to pull him in. It even came to this, like, very few people you could imagine as wicked as Lezer Kaganovich. Lezer Kaganovich was Stalin's right-hand man. Stalin's right-hand man. He was a Jewish, I think he was a cobbler or something like that. Joined the revolution, and he basically worshipped Stalin. Anything that he wanted. He was the man who engineered the famine in the Ukraine.
The what?
The famine in Ukraine, right? We don't know how many millions of people died, but an engineered famine, right? Because they wanted to get rid of the kulaks, the homesteaders, get rid of them, to starve them out. And he was involved in planning the doctor's plot. His wife said to him, even against your own people. His wife couldn't take that he was doing this. Right? So sometime in the early 1980s, somebody came back from Russia and told the Rebbe, Eliezer Kaganowicz is still alive. The Rebbe's immediate reaction is, has he done tshuva? So the guy answered, the looks of his penthouse apartment, it doesn't seem so. Said, I have to do something for him. To me, it's unfathomable, such a person. But that's the way it felt, okay.
Is this Rebbe Epicurus?
The Epicurus, Kefrim, yeah, the Epicurus, those type of people, but even people who are harmful. They're still getting they're alive, and they're still a Jew because they're still connected to the tzaddik. They're connected to the Jewish people. They don't feel it. It's totally subliminal. It's like coming in the back door. But that's what's empowering them. So in the times of the Baal Shem Tov, they wanted to make a cherem on the Frankists. For the Frankists, they were, after Shabtai Tzvi converted to Islam, so then there were those who were following Yaakov Frank. And they said that the reason Shabtai Tzvi did this was because he wanted to, he had to go into the world of Islam. And so eventually all became Roman Catholics, but they felt they could do anything that was forbidden, because they're going to find the divine sparks that are lost in the forbidden foods and forbidden relationships and raise them and so on. So they wanted, the rabbis at the time wanted to make a cherem, put these people in cherem, all the Frankists. And the Baal Shem Tov refused. He refused.
What's cherem?
Cherem, excommunicate them. Because once you excommunicate, as long as they're still connected, there's hope for them. You excommunicate them, it's like you're cutting them off. And they'll no longer have any life. And there won't be any chance for them to tshuva. The same thing, a similar happened. I can't say the same, but similar, when many of the students of the Maggid wanted to put the Misnagdim into cherem. And among others, the Alter Rebbe refused. Can't can't excommunicate them. You can cut them off. Can't do that. You can't cut off a Jew.
So assuming the Alter Rebbe could meet the Rebbe Ben Nevat, he would have tried to bring him in? Or not?
Getting up, but it's connected. There was a dibuk. You know what a dibuk is? The neshama. But the many stories of a dibuk. A dibuk means there was a neshama that left this world. The body died, but the neshama couldn't go up to Gan Eden, and can't go down to Gehenna, because it's so, there's no Gehenna bad enough, or it's just so connected to this world, it can't leave. So what is it? Just wanders around without a body, looking for a body. And then as soon as there's an opening, somebody leaves an opening, it goes in there and it takes over this body. That's the dibuk. So there was, I think it was a man, I can't remember, a man, yeah, and had a dibuk inside him. They brought him to different tzaddikim, and these tzaddikim couldn't, so they brought him to the Alter Rebbe. And the Alter Rebbe starts talking to the dibuk. Who are you? Where did you come from? So it turns out that he was one of those who killed the Nabi Zechariah in the Beis Hamikdash. He was a Kohen in the Beis Hamikdash, and the Navi was making his prophecy about the destruction and the Golus, and they killed him right there in the Beis Hamikdash. So the Alter Rebbe is saying, how do you make a tikkun? So there's a way of making a tikkun for the neshama with his tzitzis. And he's taking out his tzitzis and tying the knots. And this way he's making a tikkun. And the dibuk says to him, you think you can make a tikkun with your yichud? In my times, your type of kavanas, your type of tikkun and so on, were like the farmer down the street, the grocer could do better than that. So the Rebbe says to him, so if you were so great, so how could you do such a sin? He said, listen, he's standing there, right? And he's prophesying of destruction. Right? Why? Because God told him, prophesy of destruction. If he would, once he said the words, it has to happen because he said it. But if he would keep quiet, so he's going to say it, it's going to happen, and all these people are going to die. But if he would keep quiet and not say it, so then he will die, because a prophet who doesn't say his prophecy, he dies. But we would. So better that he die and just one person dies than everybody. So the Alter Rebbe says, oh, so that I could learn this, that's why you came here. And now you can leave. The Dibuk left, he's gone. So he did a tikkun for such a neshama, yeah.
And how do we know that story? The Rebbe?
How do we know that story? I think somebody left a little device in the room.
No, it's written, it's communicated, it's been told by...
I don't know, the Chassidim tell it. I don't remember the source, but it has a good source. Yeah. But yeah.
Isn't it rare at Dibuk? How often does it happen?
Still happens, yeah. Well, we'll get to the other story. There's Dibuk stories today. But most of the time it's not a Dibuk, it's some sort of psychosis or whatever.
Yeah.
But still doesn't. Just keep learning Torah and it won't happen.
This is not like the dibuk that the Haro.
No, that's the golem. Dibuk, golem, yeah. Okay. So that takes care of like all the Jews are connected, no matter what. Okay. Then we get the effect of parents, because even the circumstances of the soul's entry into life have no effect on the soul's essential quality. Right? You might think that divine soul, yeah, but it came in through such parents, it probably got messed up along the way. No, the soul doesn't get, that's not what determines it. What the soul is determined up there, right? Which world it got dropped off in the process, that's it. The parents might merit to get, because of their mitzvahs, they merit that they get a very special soul. But it's not what they did that made that soul what it is. So they merited to draw that soul. That could happen. But not that something that the parents did made the soul be this way or changed the soul in any way. Oh, so as he says that, wait just a minute, it says in the Zohar and the Zohar Chadash, it says that the most important thing for a soul is that the parents sanctify themselves at the time of the union. And they speak negatively of the children of the common people, the Amei Aretz, who don't do this. They say don't marry off your daughter to an Amei Aretz, because the way their wives and so on, it's not good. So therefore, the children, their grandchildren are not going to be any good. So it sounds like, yeah, the parents do have an effect on the soul. This is no, that's not talking about the soul herself. It's speaking about her clothing. There's no nefesh, ruach, or neshama that doesn't have clothing. And that clothing comes from the nefesh of the father and mother's core essence. And every mitzvah that she does is through the interface of this clothing. Even the flow of life given from above has to come through this clothing. So what happens? If the parents sanctify themselves at the time of union, they will elicit sanctified clothing for the child's soul. And the quality of this clothing is crucial for the soul. Even if she is a great soul, she will still require sanctification father and mother time of their union. So it could be a very great soul, but this great soul came and it's got this terrible, terrible spacesuit that is clumsy, can't move around, it's stifled, it can't get up, and can't absorb, can't learn Torah because of this great neshama, but can't learn Torah because parents gave her this lousy clothing. On the other hand, you could have a neshama that's not such a great neshama, but very good clothing. Learn Torah very well, absorb things, gets lots of brachas, but it's not such a great neshama. That's up to the parents. What type of clothing is so crucial. Elsewhere, as far as this clothing is you have besides a divine soul and an animal soul, you have an intellectual, rational soul. And that's basically your personality. So it all begins there before you were even conceived. Before you even conceived. And that's why it's so important, the father and mother's relationship, what kind of relation, what kind of clothing the child's going to get lousy clothing and have to work very, very hard with his clothing to clean it up. And maybe they can somehow improve their clothing. I don't even know. Some way. Must be to some degree. Get out of it, yeah.
If the source of all souls is the same,
Yeah.
and how come we distinguish between the different souls? I thought that's what we do with our souls that differentiates us from others.
Well, didn't I answer that? I thought I answered that. I thought that's what we were just learning.
Sorry.
Okay, we'll go back to the beginning. We said that it's all one soul, but just like in the body, it's all one soul, but it's made out of all the different cells. You have neuron cells, you have muscle cells, you have the same thing amongst the souls. It's all one body, one soul, but there's souls that are far more sensitive, just like neurons are more sensitive. And some souls that are not sensitive at all, like the souls in your fingernails, cells in your fingernails. So, but it's all one soul, they're all interconnected. Now, these souls have clothing. The clothing is not an integral part of the soul. The clothing is something that the parents put on the child at the time the child is conceived, according to how their behavior. So they have lustful, unclean thoughts and so on can affect the child. For example, if the father was thinking of another woman at the time that he's with his wife, it has a bad effect on the soul. Or all sorts of other things. That's not the soul itself, but the clothing of the soul. But the soul itself remains unchanged by the behavior of the parents. And to point out to what degree that is, he says, but the soul, quality of the soul is not affected by the parents. Indeed, sometimes the soul of an inestimably great human being comes to be the child of a despicable and lonely person. And there are examples. The example, for example, of Abraham was born to Terach. And you have others. You have great sages whose parents were lowly people.
What happens with adoption?
Yeah,
that's a good question. Adoption.
What happens with adoption? I'm supposed to know the answer to all this.
Sorry.
I don't know.
You can get back to you next week.
The original says in the original generations, your children were not just children of you physically, they were actually children of your soul. They were like a spark of your soul coming. And but then all the soul starts getting recycled. And when they get recycled, then you're getting a soul that was originally the child of somebody else, and before that, the child of somebody else, and so on. So all that's related now is the clothing. The child's clothing is related to the clothing of your soul. The clothing of the child is related to the clothing of your soul. But whose child is this? Where does the child connect? The child goes off and finds a teacher. And that teacher is a person to whom his soul really is connected. That's the way it used to be. You taught your own child. It doesn't happen that way. Sinantam levanecha. You taught your child. Now the child finds a teacher. That's how it can go. It goes on that way. But except for the marginal note, which I don't think you're going to go into. You can read the whole thing over there. That's basically it for chapter 2. And next week, God willing, we're going to start chapter 3. Even though I'm going to get Pesach in the middle of the whole thing. Chapter 3 is basically about contemplation, meditation, and the structure of the soul. Chaim, thank you everybody for being here.
So this is essentially all like reincarnation.
You see, in many ways, it's different than a Hindu idea of reincarnation, where you can be reincarnated into a rock or a plant. Here, that doesn't happen. The soul stays essentially the same. And there it's also, soul's going on this journey, get higher and higher. Here, the soul starts off at the highest possible place. The soul doesn't descend into this world to get fixed. It's perfect before it came. It descends into the world to fix the world. Along the way, it could get messed up at a certain point, and then it has to come back to fix up things that it messed up before. But that's not really the reason why it came to the soul.
Interesting. It's very
Something that's incomplete. It had a mission to do in this world.
it's a very selfless concept where the
Right.
soul's trying to fix the world, where the other one's like, it's all about me. I need to ascend. Here it's like
Right.
I'm gonna
Trying to fix all the dead up at soul's purpose.
Soul's purpose is to fix
I like that.
the body that it came into and the world around it. It
Right.
wants to leave the world a better place.
Yeah.
For some reason, every Jew knows this, that you
Yeah.
came here to make this a better world. Right? That's like the Jewish line, everybody. So, but that's it. As opposed to you came here so you can reach a higher place. You were at the highest possible place before you came.
Yeah.
Along the way, okay, maybe in another Google, there was a mission you had to get done. You didn't get it done. Not only that, it could have made things worse instead of making it better. Okay, you have to come back and fix that up. It is interesting that Moshe Cordovero says that there are people who will tell you who you were in your previous life. It says those who tell do not know, and those who know do not tell. Why? Because as soon as you told a person, you messed them up. Because as soon as you tell a person you came back to this world to fix such and such, oh, then I'll go fix that. So why are they fixing it? Not because it needs to be fixed, but because I need to fix that. So that so now you mess them up. Now they're not doing it because it has to be done. The person has to struggle and work in life and try to figure and do what needs to be done, and that way make a tikkun. But if you do the tikkun because you told you have to do this tikkun, you didn't do the tikkun. You did it because somebody told you, and that's not the real tikkun.
It kind of doesn't matter who you were in your previous life, you're here now.
Now you got to figure things out. You're in the dark. You're supposed to be in the dark. Figure it out. Okay, thank you guys for coming.
Thank you.
I hang this up somehow. I
Very,
know this.
very interesting, Rabbi.
Thank you. Come back next week.
Yes, Hashem.
Right.